So I don't really like that generic video, but it gives me time to like just jump in there and share this through some other groups real quick.
Mhm.
So welcome to the 30-second countdown, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so excited to see you. I haven't seen you since QDS. When did we go there?
And
June,
yeah,
May?
June, May, June, right around there.
I think so. So we got to meet you down in New Orleans when we went to Martha Woodward's QDS, and I mean, one, you're incredible. Didn't really know much about you till we got there, and we're sitting down there, and Angelina's sitting in the class, and we're just listening to you speak, and then all of a sudden we're listening, and then we're listening, and I'm like, what? Like all the stuff that you were talking about, I was just like, and then I told Liz. Liz was at your admin boot camp, and
Oh
she's
yeah.
like, oh my Amanda's amazing. She's taking pictures of all the notes that she took at your class down in Florida when she was at the admin boot camp. And then she's like texting me all this stuff as you're like putting it up there. It's just so fun to see how much how much Liz was able to learn from you, and then how much I was taking in. And I was like, she's incredible. We need to hear her speaking in. So we're so excited to have you at Sales Boost.
Well, I am glad to be here, and it's always a win when you hear someone took away something from what you were talking about. So we'll take it.
Absolutely. So I know a little bit about you, and some of my guests need to know a lot more about you. So why don't you go ahead and tell them who you are, what your specialty is, and then we'll kind of talk about some other things.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Amanda. My background, my degree's in education. So I started as a teacher and I found my way into the trades, and I've been in the trades for the last 7 years. I've worked as a coach, a trainer, and then a director of training at two different companies. So training and helping people grow their business is my passion. That is my favorite thing in the whole world. So any way I can make it connect and help people be successful is a win.
Yes, and I think it's we're just talking prior to jumping on here. How we have an okay training plan, but it could be better, and it's something that we often overlook because we just figure, well, I'm going to hire somebody, and I'm going to train them. How am I going to train them today? Well, whatever job we have, we're going to go train to. And then we either miss out on some opportunities to train them better, don't give them the proper information. Everybody gets trained a little bit differently. So they might be doing different types of techniques for cleaning properties and whatnot, or whatever it is they're working in, versus having like a solid training plan and everybody's trained the same way every single time. So there's no, I didn't know that or anything like that.
Yeah.
Talk to a little bit about the training and why it's so important.
Yeah, well, just think about how much you're spending in training in a year. And it may not even be like outside trainers. Just think of what you spend to have someone shadow the other person. So you're taking someone off your phones or out of the field, you're taking their paycheck and putting it towards someone else being trained or shadowed. Then you're paying that person to be shadowed. And it's a lot of money that you put into it. And it's a really, really big deal that training happens and happens well because people go where they feel invested in. And it's not always possible. It's not possible to give everyone a raise every time or to put everyone in management positions and promote them to that. And I think management or being promoted into that is seen as recognition, but that's not the only way you can be recognized. It's, do I feel invested in? Am I being able to become better at this career path I've chosen or this field I've chosen? And if you're doing that for your team, you'll create loyalty from that. They'll get the feeling being heard and being feeling part of the vision of the company and helping the company. And that becomes a team aspect. I have seen so many companies where they have turnover because there's not regular, consistent training happening.
Mhm.
And I think training can sometimes be viewed as you sit in the chairs, hey, we got free breakfast for you this morning, so you'll show up. and like, and you just kind of go through the motions. There's one guy up there, one girl up there talking. They have to know all the answers, and it becomes lecture style. And no one likes that, and it's not gonna stick. I mean,
Mhm.
how many times have we heard, well, I told them that already, or I told them to do that. I don't know what else to do. I told them. Telling someone isn't enough. You can't
Right.
just script the whole process. It has to be concept-based learning is what I call it. So if I can share a story, if that's all right. So I
Yes.
may hear this again. So if you can't tell, I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I was the person that had the great grades in high school, never had anything below a B plus on an exam. I went to college. I'm like, I got this. This will be fine. And I took a class called American Heritage, which is a US history class, and it was supposed to be like the worst gen ed you could take to get through. So I had to study the 10 amendments. That's like what the test was going to be on. I could repeat those 10 amendments to you. I could tell you all about them. I show up to my test, and the first question, I kid you not, is Darth Vader has taken over the galaxy and the rebels have fought back. And it gives this whole scenario, and they're like, what amendment would be applicable? And I am looking at this going, Darth Vader was not in my US history textbook. Like, and I failed my first exam that I ever took in college because all the questions were like that. And I was like, where's my fill in the blank? Just let me give you the answer. Here's what I do. Check off my box. And I called my dad tears, right? Because happened to me. And it's not fair. Was this professor thinking? And my dad said, you just learned the most important lesson. You learn that you have to be able to apply a concept. You can't just know the information. And that is what we need in training. They're going to go into a meeting with the customer. They're going to have customers on the phone, whatever it is, and it is not going to go to script. Whatever you practice is not going to play out the exact same way. And if they sound like a robot going through, I was told to say this, so I'll do that. They're going to feel silly. They're going to say, this doesn't work. They don't do it. You come back and you're like, I told them to do this. Why aren't they doing it? And it just falls apart. And then we say, forget training. It's not happening anyways. We have to transfer to this concept-based learning of, can you get the idea and apply it in any situation? And that's where we want to take the training to.
I love that. So, I mean, I just learned that the force was not strong with you in college.
Bad freshman year. It was a bad freshman year.
And you briefly talked about it, and I think it's far too often overlooked, is the cost to train a new hire. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're repeatedly having that turnover and you're devoting those hours, which equate to dollars taken away from revenue possibly, to train and not have effective training.
Yeah.
And had we just built out a system, and we should all understand that everybody communicates differently and they all receive information differently. I'm not a textbook learner. Like, just get me out in there, put me in the field, show me how it's done, and I'll make it happen. Some people like that visual to learn through it and read through it and then go through the process. So being able to adapt to everybody's training process, I would assume, is super important with that as well.
Yeah, it's 100%. And you don't need to be the person with all the answers. It should be a conversation, because no one knows what's happening in the field better than your team. Mm-hmm. They are the front lines. So they need to be the ones coming in with the scenarios or the questions, and you build the training around that. And so I'm going to sound like such a stalker, but I don't know if you remember posting this on Facebook, but in the Christmas season, Mr. Christmas over here, you posted a picture of a house and how the lights were hanging on the house. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was about how you want the lights to line up with the house.
Yeah. The peak bulb. Yeah, it's my house. Yeah.
Yeah. I could not unsee that the rest of the Christmas season. I was going, oh, they had someone lazy at their house. And here's the thing. You could have gone to your guys and your team and just said, hey, I need the lights hung this way. Or you can show the picture of the two different houses and go, which one looks better? Why? Why does that look better? What does that say about you when you're in the field? What are other opportunities that would share this same message? Why does that matter? And you can build it all off of that. And you see how that would mean more to them if they get to discover that than just being like, hey, I want the lights this way. And you got tons of comments on it because people related to that. That was there's something called the 5 E's, and it's a great training method, but that was your first E, was the engagement. Like, you got them to tune in and be like, oh, this matters, and here's why. So yeah, you ruined all holiday lights for me.
Well, I need to have a talk with all your installers in your area, apparently.
Yeah.
I know I didn't train them.
So so yeah, it's
Yeah, because you're you're also giving them the emotional attachment to that now, like to take the pride in their work, and like I don't want to be that lazy guy. I want to put the energy in and make myself proud of that work, and we find that a lot with our team too, which is really fun. Says a lot about our culture, though. Is like we'll have guys that will go out at night and show their spouses, significant others, friends, all the lights they do, and they'll even come back and say, "Hey, while we're out there, we saw a light bulb out, so we fixed it." Because they're putting the pride into that work. They want to showcase it to everybody that they don't want to walk away from, even when they're off, and say like, "Man, it looks okay."
yeah. And that's because the training went behind so much more than a checklist item. It became meaningful behind it. And if we can pull that in everything, then you have a team that's dedicated to your company's vision.
Yeah.
That's
So I think when people, talk about training or building a training platform or a training system out, they think, well, that's going to be a lot of time, a lot of energy, um, and I don't know how to do it. Is there, how would you respond to that, and where would you push them towards to get started?
yeah. Well, one, you can call me. I'll help you out. But two, really, I would just start with talk to your team. So my favorite thing to do when I go into a new company is talk to the people on field and be like, what's missing? What did you have in your initial training that you wish you knew now? Because that tells me where the holes are and the
Mm.
gaps are. And you don't have to build it by yourself. Take someone who's really good and say, would you talk about this process? Would you build this out? If they're teaching someone on a computer, or I'll just use any CSR, right? If they're showing someone a new agent on the computer, a system of how to use it, why not just record it while they're doing it anyways and log that so you can use that as a starting point? If you can just start with something, then you can build. And every section you build, start with an objective. Like, what do you want them to take away from this part of it? Give them scenarios, let them talk about it, explain it, teach someone else. And you just build from that. So I know that's a very generic kind of starting point there, but you have to build out what do they need to know to be successful. And I just bullet point that list out and then build the training off of those bullet points.
No, it's great because you're already doing the training. It depends on who you're training and how you train. But one, you said the computer, jump on Loom and record
Yep.
everything while you're doing it. So then it may not be perfect, but hey, here's a blueprint for beginning for how to use the CRM. Here is us doing a phone call with a client, things like that. And same thing with while you're on the field. If you're out there with two or three guys, here, take my camera and record me while I'm explaining this to you. So then they have that. You can put that into the database, and now it doesn't need to be perfect like you see
No.
these $1 million companies, but now there's a video of me showing somebody how to go greet a customer, or how to follow up with a customer, things like that. And it's
Yeah.
simple. The videos don't need to be minutes long. They could be
No.
short, because you don't want to bore them. So
No.
get a
No.
30-second video, a minute video, and then we'll just get to, like you said, the objective, talk about it, and then move on to the next thing.
Yes. And then what you can do is once you start noticing patterns of what the common errors are, every company should have a training calendar. There should be a training calendar of where time set aside where you're going to review a topic. Because in a training, I told you I'm a nerd, so here's your stats for you. Within an hour of a training, you will forget 50% of what you've learned in that hour. 1 week later from a training, you will only retain 10% of what was covered in that
That's
training.
scary statistics.
Right? Makes me feel a little not important at the end of the day, but uh, it does happen. So you need repetitive. I would have a repeat of topics you really want your team to hone in on and focus on. Repeat that every 3 months, because I guarantee you, yeah, they heard it, but chances of remembering it, you're going to hear it more than once, and then have discussions and practices and hands-on activities so they can do those things.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you might say different, but I don't think so. You got to have fun doing it. Like, You need
100%.
to have fun. Nobody wants death by PowerPoint saying, I'm
No,
JC, and today we're going to talk about sales 101. Like, no, like
no.
have fun doing it. So they want to learn, they want to come to the next training, and they get excited for it. I don't care if you're giving out candy, if you do a training into like some type of team building exercise, but
Yes. Games. A really fun one out there, Kahoot. If you've never played Kahoot, it's
what is
just
it?
it's called Kahoot,
Okay.
K-A-H.
Oh, yeah.
There's a free version. I love it in my trainings because it's a quick assessment for the knowledge base, the boring stuff that you just had to get through because you had to learn it. And you play the game and it scores you on the right answer, but how quickly you picked it.
Mm.
And show a leaderboard about. I will use that. And then the next day in my training class, they'll say, can we play that Kahoot again? These are 50-year-old men that just want to get the
Well, we like
leaderboard.
competing with each other. Yeah, we want to compete. We want everyone wants to win.
If you can gamify anything, do it. So much more entertaining and you'll remember it that much better.
Martha said you're the best. Of course she is,
Oh,
Martha. And Angela, yes, she is. We got
they're
Todd coming from Atlanta. He's or Georgia area. I think he'll be a sales boost as well. And making it fun was definitely the way you delivered your speech in New Orleans. Like I was all in. Other than me texting Liz because I was so excited, and then she was like excited too, and sending me all the pictures of the stuff she learned from you. Like I was like just in, and I'm like, all right, I need to learn more about this. And it was just you really did make it fun, and I could have listened to you for another hour and probably retained 80% of it, not
hey,
50.
hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. But yeah, that's what we want. And that's why I want to teach everyone how to get those results in their company.
Awesome. Well, so for our viewers that are just coming in, it's Amanda Powell. She's going to be talking about training, which is so important. Again, we just overlook it, and when you're just constantly seeing high turnover in your company, there's a couple things we got to look at. But oftentimes, it can fall back to the training and not delivering, setting expectations for your team. So she's going to talk about building a blueprint, or what can they expect?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about how to present material. We're going to talk about the 5 E's to help engage your team. So they are engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So we're going to talk about that and how doing these things is going to help you build the talent in your team. Because if you're just hiring people and collecting talent and not them growing, that's where careers go to die and they'll check out. But if you can take the talent and then continue to invest in them and help them become better at what they do, you're going to have such a better company culture and just lower turnover. So
Super simple, but super effective and so important for your company.
yes, that's what we want.
I mean, even McDonald's has training plans, and
Right?
that's how to flip a burger or how to add fries to the fryer. But they have processes, and it makes it easy.
Yes, every result they have is intentional, right? If you go Disney, everything done at Disney's intentional. It's going with a purpose in mind. If you have that, you're going to be on the right foot.
So Todd does training every Wednesday with our safety meeting. Yep.
Nice.
And it could
Yeah,
be simple.
key. Sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, it could be simple, just simple training. It doesn't have to be over complicated. But it's
No.
refreshing that memory and keeping everybody up to date on things because things change, policies change. So
Yes. And let someone else do it. You don't have to be the one doing it every time. Like let your team be involved. Let them help create it. And you don't have to go in knowing all the answers too. Like learn from the team.
we did that last year, 2023. We had the team, we built out a training plan for safety meetings and everything, and they had to instruct on that. And it could have been as simple as putting on a YouTube video or going through something, but getting them involved. Nobody wants to be up there, but once you get through it a couple times, it gets easier. But then they're like, all right, well, now I really need to get in this. And I don't want to make it boring because I'm tired of seeing boring stuff.
Yes. Yes. Make it fun.
So, all right, man. Well, I'm so excited to see you in March. I will be in the back of the classroom taking notes again and retaining as much as I can. But the good thing is I'll record it and watch it over and over again because that's how incredible you are.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you in March. Everybody who has not bought a ticket, go to salesboostlive.com. We are quickly running out of tickets. So we want to make sure that if you want to see Amanda and build out that training platform for your team to be successful, you've got the opportunity. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you.